Exodus, the 28th chapter, and if anybody is more of an artist than I am, you can volunteer and do all of my illustrations for me. Otherwise, don't last much. But it's all very interesting. And can you see this chart? Or is it a squinch? Because we're talking about what they're supposed to wear now. God have told them about everything, all the details, what he wants, what he doesn't want, and now he's telling them what to wear and how to make it, and that's what we want to focus on. It's just amazing, the precision of God and how he wants things done. And so we're going to go forth with this. And this is the 28th chapter of Exodus. So it's starting off with talking about the priesthood, and it's talking about the garments and the material they want to use, and the ephod and the coat and the breastplate and all the pieces that are going to go to make up this garment that he wants them to wear. So what's the first thing come to your mind when you look at that? Blanche can't draw. Okay. A king, and this is focusing on, before he got to the kings, he used his priestly, so this is a priest's garment. And who was the first high priest? What family did it have to come through? He was the first. It came through the tribe of the Levitical tribe. So only preachers, priests, leaders came through the Levitical tribe. And Aaron had to come through Aaron's line, too. It couldn't just be everybody that was a Williams. It had to come through a certain line. It had to come through Ed. So all the priests, and it was a lot of them, but it just showed how God decided this is what he wanted, and this is the way I want it. So he's telling them now how I want you to dress. He's talking to Moses and telling them, how I want this done. And exactly. We're a Levite. Had to be a Levite. That's the only line it could come through. And then once it was the line, it had to be through Aaron's seed. So to be a Levite didn't mean you was automatically a priest. So, all right, so we're starting out here, and God is giving instructions, and the first verse of 28th chapter saying, "And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel." So God have already decided who we want to use. We just have to be available and willing and be pliable, and said, okay, what do you want me to do, that he may be ministered unto me in the priest's office. So he's already chosen who he wants. He said, even Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's son. So he picked out right then who he wanted to use at this particular time. And there were plenty of them because they worked in 7-day shifts, and there was always something to do, always. "And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother for glory and for beauty." So God is all about order. He's all about him getting the glory. It's not for us. All of this is representing God. We're reflecting the image of him. It's not who I am or bragging on me. I'm reflecting his image. This is all about God. It's him working through me. It's the Jesus in me. That should always be our approach when we are representing Christ. "And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office." Isn't it amazing how God gives you talents? And, everybody can't do what Duchess does. God have designated a gift that to her. Everybody couldn't sew. Everybody couldn't build. So what are some of the areas where God gave special, he said, I feel with spiritual wisdom, and here in this case in verse 3, to make the garment. He gave them special gifts to know how to sew. Isn't that something? Now, we've already talked about what? What are some of the things that were special, that God gave special gifts for? We've talked about the tabernacle, so it had to be some what? Some skills, some smith. What do you call the guys that
I know what you're saying.
The smith guy that do the hammering for the irons and things, the ironsmith guy. He had to have a special skill. He didn't know what to do. When they made the banners and the rods and all of that stuff and the metals and all of that, they didn't know what to do. When they made the jewelry, God, isn't it amazing? I said, I hadn't thought about that. And God said, I know. You can't think of all of this stuff. And he took everything, and the embroidery and the carpentry. When they were making the tabernacle, he had so many boards here, so many rods there. And the woodsmen, they know how to cut, you know. You cut it too short, you can't use it. You cut it too long, you have another chance to fix it. But I remember one time I was making a dress, and I cut it too short. I cut it on the fold, which should have been the bottom of the hem, instead of cutting beyond that. And I put it on. I said, what happened to the rest of my dress? I had to sew it back on and put some lace on it to make it look like she didn't just cut that part off, to make it look like it was part of the dress. But I never wore that dress much. But the designers and everything that he did in past weeks, we know all of the design and the colors and the dyeing of the material. And the seamstresses, they had to know how to sew. They had to know how to do that. The engravers had to know how to... All of this, I said that was a lot involved. And God told them every single thing that he wanted done. So now he's saying, pick out the ones that are filled with wisdom so they can make this garment. And it needs to be made the way I want it made. You need special skills to be a tailor. You know, some people seem to just have automatic thing to do things, you know.
And I was going to say, the scriptures don't say they didn't go to school to learn.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It was a gift from God.
Right.
And some people are just automatically inclined to, I mean, you go to the store to buy a little bitty something and they got a sheet in there with 15 pieces, you got to connect this one. I don't have that talent.
I don't either. They just have a knack.
They have a knack.
Like Mickey have a knack for putting stuff up, you know.
Yeah.
I don't put anything up. I got one little tree like an umbrella, and I open that up and plug it up. That's it. But she likes to put this here, and she likes to... Her house just looked like, you know, you could have come and took pictures, but my house had an umbrella tree.
Some people have that coordination gift, you know,
right.
where they can just look at something and say, oh, no, it'll look, you know, I guess designers, home designers.
Right, a lot of that. They could just look and know what colors will go together.
Yeah.
It used to be, you know, more defined colors that went together, but today you can almost put any color. When they start putting red with orange, you know, when they start putting purple with pink or yellow or something, but now you can almost wear anything you want. But and he said, whom I have filled with spiritual wisdom. God fills us with certain talents, and, you know, she's good at that. Use her. She's good at that. Some are good at math. They just look at something and say, yeah, that's going to take about blah, blah, blah. Well, let me get my pencil and paper and give me 5 minutes to figure it out. But it's just amazing when I saw that, my mind stuck with us. So God just gave who he wanted to have the gifts, and it wasn't that they knew, but he said, I filled them with this knowledge. All right, so, and these are the garments which they shall make. So he tells them, I want them to make a breastplate, and there's the breastplate, if you can identify them as we go. And I want them to make an ephod. This is the ephod, if you can see it, and a robe. This part right here is the robe, and a coat, and a mitri, which is, I didn't know it before, but that's a turban. the hat, and a girdle.
So the ephod, the ephod.
This part right here.
Yeah, so what's the purpose of that? I know what the purpose of the breastplate, but what is the purpose of it?
This is just another special garment he put in place, and it's embroidery and just part of his instructions. Part of his instruction. We'll read and see if it gives us a little more detail. Because we have three different things here. We got the tunic, we got the robe, we got ephod, and we got the breastplate, and then we got pouches, and then we got shoulder pads, and then we got... So all of these things had a specific meaning for God, and we'll read on and see if it breaks down each one that he wants us. And they shall take gold of blue and purple and scarlet. The colors didn't change. What else do we know had those colors? The curtains in the tabernacle, remember? So the colors, God have his designated colors, and those are the colors he wants. And did we define the colors? I believe we did. Linen is what color? That's white, righteousness, pure, clean, fresh. The blue is heavenly places, purple is royalty, and the scarlet is for the blood. So when you see these colors, they have a function. So, all right, verse 6, and they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue and purple, and of scarlet and fine intertwined. So I'm intertwining, and these are all the different colors here. With cunning work made by the most skilled workman. So here again, he's pointing out that he wants these designs to be extraordinary, and this is for the high priest. This is for Aaron. Everybody didn't wear this particular outfit. This was for the high priest. The others wore, but not this particular one. And it was a two-parted garment. This is the front of it. And then the same design is on the back, and they're connected at the shoulders. That's what this verse 6 is saying. And shall have two shoulder pieces. This is 7. They are joined at the edges, and so it shall be joined together. And that's just telling us that's in the back. And the curious girdle, they call it, which is a sash, just this part right here, a belt or a sash, which is upon it shall be of the same. So this design here should be the same. I left it solid just to show that it was there. It shall be the same according to the work, even of gold, blue, purple. And this sash is a type of a waistband, and it speaks of what? When you have a sash or you have a towel or you have something, what are you saying? When Jesus put that towel around him, what was he saying? He was getting ready to do what? Wash the disciples' feet. Getting ready for service. I'm here to serve. I'm available. Whatever you need me to do, whatever my hands find to do, I'll do it. And the priests had very extensive responsibilities, didn't they? Amen. All right, so around the waist, okay, and it speaks of service, because Jesus was the one in John, when he took the towel and girded himself, he was getting ready to wash the disciples' feet. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and this is the shoulder here, and grave them in the name of the children of Israel. So it's going to be 6 names over here on the shoulder, and 6 names over there on the shoulder. 6 of their names on one stone, and 6 names on the other stone, resting according to their birth. Do you all know the names of the children of Israel? Y'all remember them? I went back and looked on our sheet. I love these sheets. Joseph was one of the 12. They came out of Jacob.
Right, they came out of Jacob.
Okay, so these are the names. These are all 12 of them. Remember, I went back to January the 18th. I love these things. We can go back and dig up some of the stuff we had. So this is what he's saying. He said, put 6 names over here and 6 names over there according to their age. So that's what's on the shoulder. All right, what verse was that? That was 9 and 10, okay. And 11, with the works of an engraver in stone, like the engraving of the signet, thou shalt engrave 2 stones with the names of the children that make them to set in the gold setting. So he have a gold setting up here. You see what the preciousness of it. He don't have any second-hand stuff. He's saying gold. He's saying, fine linen. He's using the very best. And this is telling me I should present my very best to God. God is not a boot and a shoe. He's not a sluggard. He's not like a daisy. This is important. This is God. Sometimes we give more audience to human beings than we reverence God. Oh, this is the president, which is good. He said honor those that should get it, this is so-and-so. But God is the ultimate, and he should be honored in everything we do. It shouldn't be a lack of honoring God in anything. All right, so that's 11. So their names are going to be up there. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulder of the ephod for the stone as a memorial. So detail is showing that we have some rings going up there, and I'm going to show you a picture of it as we go. And he's telling them, use gold and use 2 chains on the end of it to hold it in place, and it's all there. And they shall make the breastplate of judgment. This is the breastplate here, the breastplate. With cunning workers, meaning get the best workmen again. After the work of the ephod, that thou make it of gold and of purple and of scarlet, and intertwined with linen. And the breastplate is attached to the ephod. So it's attached, and the rings are holding it at the bottom, and the rings holding it at the top. 4 square, so it's supposed to be a 4 square. And you see this little pouch here? What do you think is in that pouch? So it's folded in double, and you can put your hand in there, and it's something in there. Next few verses, we'll find out what's in there. But that's what that is. It's attached to the front. So that's the 4 square. It should be double a span of the length of, so it's saying the length of a hand, so your hand can go in there. And thou shalt set in its settings of stone 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do you think these are? How many are there? 4 rows of 3. Going back to the 12 tribes of Israel again, aren't we? And he tells us what to put, what the stones are. What are the stones for the first row? That would be what? 17. Sardis, topaz, and carbuncle. The second row, emerald, sapphire, diamond. The third row is linger or amber, agate, and amethyst. And what was the last row? Beryl, and jasper. And these are all representing the 12 tribes of Israel. And the stones shall be with the names of children of Israel, just what we said, according to their names, like an engraving, everyone according to the 12 tribes. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains. The end is telling us again how to mount that breastplate. That's what 22 through 27, I believe, is telling us how to attach that. 2 chains of gold and tied to the top, and another 2 chains and tied to the end. 27 and 2 other rings of gold, and shall put them on the 2 sides of the ephod. Okay, 28, and they shall bind, attach the bottom of the breastplate to the ephod, so the breastplate won't come loose. All right. And Aaron shall wear the name of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgments upon his heart when he go into the holy place. So he has all of this when he goes in to stand before God representing Israel. Who's standing before us today representing us and keeping us from getting towed up and judged? Pastor always said, Daddy, Daddy, look at the blood. Don't look at Blanche. She's a nut today. Thank God for Jesus, right? Okay, now verse 30 is kind of answering that question about the pouch. All right, and thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goes before the Lord, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. So he's the one that's going in, he's equipped, he has been purified, he has everything in order, he's dressed right, got everything just the way he's supposed to have it, because he's getting ready to go in the presence of the Lord, which is where? In the Holy of Holies. Remember the tabernacle? The tabernacle, only Jesus was going to do that. But this is the replica, this is the symbolism of what's happening, will happen with us. And God is playing it all out down here, and he's using Aaron as the high priest. And we know today Aaron is not our high priest. God, Jesus is. But this is just a simulation of what's to come. So he's all equipped. Now here is see, that's the little pouch I was talking about. And it's hard to see. And two precious stones, he told them what to make. He didn't say anything about making this. He just said, take these stones. And these, in my reading, these stones had been used in previous times. And I said, oh, okay, let me see, do I remember any of that? Can you remember or even acknowledge, do this ring any bells with you, the Urim and the Thummim? Do that ring any bells? I was reading, and references were saying that they used it, and they were like means of obtaining answers from God, kind of like you cast, they were casting lots and things, and these were two stones that the high priest would carry in here, and it would be in the pocket, and when he needed to talk to God and get an answer from God, he would go in there and pull them out, and it was a means of communicating with God. And different references I read, some said had a no on it, some said they had a yes on it, and if you were asking a question, you just go in there and reach it, and whichever one you pulled out, that was the answer, because they took it, at face value that this is a word from God. You had a... Yeah, it's similar to that. When they were making decisions, they would cast a lot. Mm-hmm. When they needed a decision from God, they would go in and get the Thummim or the Urim, and whatever one you pull out, yea or nay, that was your answer.
Yes, okay. In the Amplified version, it says, articles used when the high priest asked God counsel for all of Israel.
And I don't remember discussing or hearing anybody talk about that before. Have you all? Yeah. So we read the Bible. I read the Bible 10 times. I read the Bible, but it's always something you can go back and pick up and say, oh, I don't remember that. So God always got something else. This little brain is not going to maintain. So, that was a thought for me, that was the means of communicating with God at the time. He'd go in the little pouch because he was the representative for his people. The people didn't go to God. He was the only one that went in there, wasn't it? So that was something that I said, okay, let me ask if anybody else have this. And their meaning is light and innocence. And Thummim is perfection and completeness and truth. And these stones represented that, light and innocence, perfection and truth, and hearing from God. So they use that. And 31, and thou shalt make the robe of the ephod of blue. This is blue, the robe. And there shall be a hole at the top, so it can go through its neck. So this here is part of this. This is all blue. I didn't have any crayons. You probably had some crayons back there. I didn't think about that. I could have made colors. But this is the robe, and this is part of the robe. And didn't think about that in time. So the robe was worn beneath the ephod and the breastplate. So This is what he's saying there. And beneath, upon the hem of it, make pomegranates. Okay, we were talking once before about what? When they go in there, what they wanted to hear. Bells. Guess where the bells are? On the road. The bells are on the road. See, verse 33, pomegranates, there was little bulbs in the shape of looking like pomegranates. I didn't write the word pomegranate, but I wrote bells. And this is where they are. They're on the road. Did you all know that? They're like, pomegranate was little tassels, and they were alternating. So pomegranate bell, alternating with that.
So it wasn't a belt with bells on it.
It was at the end of the road. You see there? We just keep reading God's word, and we get some answers, don't we? Isn't that amazing? So it was alternating with the belt between and around them. And a golden bell and a pomegranate and a golden belt and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe about it. Right there. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he go into the holy place before God, and when he cometh out, that he die not. So if he went in the holy place and wasn't the way he should have been, and came out, you didn't make it out. You didn't hear the bells. You know something was wrong, because it said that he died not. So you go in, the bells jingling, you hear it. When he come out, you should hear the bells jingling again.
So if he, let's say hypothetically, he went in
and he wasn't right. We haven't read anything about the rope yet.
They will
pull him out.
If on the road, how can you, you can't go in there.
No, you can't go in there. You can't. We haven't run across. I didn't know where the bells were. Okay. So we've learned something today where the bells were, because they were thinking, I don't know what we were thinking. We knew there was some bells and a rope and you pull them out. But when I was reading this,
different passages say it.
Right.
But I never, even though I read it myself, it just went straight over me. I'm still thinking of bells with the bells.
See, no, that sash, that's just a sign of humility. I'm here to function. I'm here to work and do the work of the Lord. But when I read that, I smiled. I said, we've been talking about those bells. Now we know from Scripture where they are. So we keep reading, we'll find out how we're going to get him out of there. If Rose ain't right, how we going to get Rose out? So that just put a smile on my face when I read that, because I think Sunday before last we talked about those bells. All right. So when he goes in the holy place, or when he come out, that he died not. So, and then one reading, it was saying he, when he went into the holies of holies, I won't bring that up because it was a different reading. Are you finding out in your reading that there are different versions of things and they don't all agree?
I have found different versions.
And research, that's why pastors say stick with the word, because when you go to somebody else's interpretation of it, it's not...
Even reading the Bible that I've run across, reading that if you did not know the word, it would be contradictory. But we know God is not contradictory. So when I come across something like that just motivates me, okay.
Keep reading.
Let me see, what is being said here. So, even reading the Bible itself, someone who just wants to see that and don't want to go any further, they would take there would be some contradictions.
They would. And that's why the pastor tells us to use our formula of who, when, where, what is the subject matter. You have to go through that whole scenario to get an understanding, because we do know that God does not contradict himself. Absolutely. But in expository reading, somebody else put something down. It may be something different, but when you stick to the word...
It's all in the translation. In my reading and my studying, I have learned that our English words have a totally different meaning in the Hebrew word. So, and that's what it was translated from.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta go back
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, what was the meaning of this in Hebrew? And it's not that the English translation is wrong. It's just that the English translation
It's
gives you
different.
a different thought.
A different thought.
And you have to, do that research. So it's the Hebrew language is, I don't know it.
They have the Hebrew, and some of it is in
Yeah.
Greek, so by the time you translate it, but you
yeah.
have to be so careful where you're reading and go back to the scriptures.
Mhm.
Like when I found the bells, I said, this is scripture. We don't have to worry about where the bells were. This is scripture. It was on the bottom of the road.
Mhm.
So we'll keep reading and see how to get them out of there. All right. All right. And the crown, and thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, around here, 36 and 37, like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And we know today our holiness, His holiness is our holiness, isn't it? We want to be like Him when we don't have to hover about 10,000 failures, because we know we do things wrong, we fail, but we keep our eyes on the crown. We keep our eyes on the Lord. He is our perfection. He's our peace. He is the way, the truth, and the light, and He tells us that all the time. And if we don't detour, if we don't start looking somewhere else, we will always be in His hand, in His will, pleasing Him. And thou shalt put on it the turban. See, it's a part of that mitri, and it's called the turban. And they are as one, that it may be upon the mitri, upon the forefront of the mitri, it shall be. So he's saying, put this gold up here in the front of that, in the forefront of that. And it should be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquities of the holy things which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts, and it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. Isn't it amazing how He's taken all of the whatever's going on with the people, He has to take it, put it on Him, and He's the one that's going to die, and the bell's not going to ring if things are right, if the atonement and if the burnt offering, like last week was when we went in, was that last week or week before last, when you go in the tabernacle, you got to do the slaughter, and you got to do the burning, and you got to do it the right way. You got to go to the brazen altar, and it has to be presented right. And that's what I think we fall short in sometimes. We don't think of the reverence that should be there when we say we are worshiping the Lord. We don't be serious enough. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Are we serious enough? Are we trying to do 2 other things or 3 other things? Or we come to worship, So I think this tells me we need to be more serious. That's, what I get out of that. And thou shalt make embroider the coat for fine linen, and it shall make it the turban of fine linen. So these things and the sash, he's telling fine linen, and the colors, he's just breaking it all down to us, isn't it? And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother, and his sons upon him. Now, did everybody wear everything? The breastplate and all of that? Did the rest of the priests? Just the high priest. Just the high priest wore something. Like Aaron wore the breastplate because he had to carry this before God, representative. The ephod with the names, he had to carry that before the Lord. And the turban with the gold and the fine linen, he had to wear that. And the sash. So they had an outfit, but they didn't wear what the high priest wore, did they? And thou shalt put them upon Aaron and his sons, and thou shalt anoint them and consecrate them and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. All of what? Which is done only as representation, only a form of what Christ did for us. All representation. Would somebody read Hebrews 8 and 6? 6 and 7.
But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
You see there?
Yeah.
So all of this here, 41, and thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother and his sons with them, and shall anoint them and consecrate them and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. But then all of this was done only as a representation. Because it said if the first one being this one, had been a what?
Faultless.
If it had, and we know it was not. And we are not faultless either. What's keeping us from being slain? Jesus. Mercy. We're living under grace and mercy. So that just wakes me up to, Lord, help me to do better. And they shall make them linen breeches. They wait till the end. This kind of made me smile. They got all of this on, and then the last verse tells us what? We got to make some breeches on. And they shall make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness from the loins even unto the thigh that they reach. So they got to have on some shorts under these robes and things, but it just tickled me that they waited to the very end. We fully dressed here, and now you're saying, okay, we forgot something. We got to put some underclothes on it. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity. So all of this, everything we name, plus your undergarments and your breeches, it said you got to have all of this stuff in place before you come to church. What do we have in place when we come to church?
Come to get in place.
We come to get in place. Sometimes we come mad. Sometimes we come depressed. Sometimes we come tired. We would be gone before we put our first foot in the door. But all of this has to be in place. But the priest had to do that. So the people, he had to be an intermediary for them, because they were doing things all the time. That's why they were out in that outer court. Remember doing what? What was that outer court for? Sacrifice, bringing those pigeons and bullocks in. All of that outer court was busy all the time because things had to be prepared. So they would be in place, and that's amazing. So we know that the priest had a job to do. It was always something to do. They performed what? The daily sacrifices. They maintained the tabernacle. They counseled the people. They had to, the bread had to be changed every week. How many loaves were on the table? 12. He's always going back representing the 12 tribes of Israel, God's chosen people. And the lampstand had to always be lit. So, they were working all the time. And then they took shifts, and when your shift was over, the other one better be in place. And then that's when they cast lots to see what the schedule was. You look on the board and say, what's my schedule? Do I work today? Well, they, cast lots to see. So the preacher today, how does that compare? What the preacher do today? He got to maintain the tabernacle, make sure the sacrifice. What do the preacher do today? What's his responsibility? Bring God's word. Feed his sheep. So he don't have to come in here with no bullock or anything like that. He's to lead us in right living, in prayer and supplication, and tell us the benefits of living right and the downside of not living right, So he's really to teach us and encourage us and give us the word. And then whose decision is it? It's our decision. We hear it all the time. People go to church every Sunday. Are they adhering to the word? Are we adhering to the word when we go back out in our ways of the same? That we're not. And the pastor's starting a series on what now? On judging. That was very impactful to my grandbaby because everything we talked about after that, she said, Granny, is that judging? You know. I said, well, this really stuck with you, didn't it? Are we judging? You know, I said something. I said, well, we need to go because, you know, when it get dark, we don't want to be out there. So much going on. Granny, are we judging? I said, I think this is just sound doctrine. You know, but it came to her mind. Everything we talked about, you know, Granny, is that judgment? I said, no, these are facts, and we need to, you know, stay within the criteria and can have, you know, good sense. Don't.
That's where the wisdom comes in.
You
know, because, you know, it should be discerning. You know, because you say you can tell the tree by the fruit.
Right.
So you need to be discerning. But I think that's where wisdom comes in. I don't want to judge. But I'm seeing, you know, it not judging. I think when you go to saying, you know what, you're going to go to hell if you keep doing so and so.
You're judging.
Yeah, that's judging. But to see this, you know, the wrongdoing, and I go back to this law that they have made that, you know, men.
That's against God's ordinance.
It is, he does not change. That's what he's on Sodom and Gomorrah down for. You know, that's what he came down for. You know, the Sodom and Gomorrah. I just don't understand how they have taken it and made it fit to, it's okay.
It's not okay.
I know.
It's not okay.
I mean,
I don't understand that logic either, but it's not okay. But everything that God hates, people justify it. So it's not just that. To us, this is a biggie. But with God, it's the same thing as a white and yellow and blue line, you know. So with God, it don't matter. But we put things on levels. That's a biggie. You know, so the things that were going on before, the lying, the cheating, the stabbing, all of that stuff, oh, that's terrible. But now we say this is a biggie. But with God, all unrighteousness is sin. Is sin. So we thank God for this lesson. I brought a picture, and you all can look at it and compare it with my drawing.